Hi, I'm Richie, and I am a 16-year-old sophomore at Crosstown.
Hi, my name is Allison Mitchell. I am a 15-year-old student at Crosstown.
Hi, my name is Christian Watson. I'm a 14-year-old sophomore at Crosstown High.
Today, we are going to be talking about opening the closet door.
We'll be discussing the progression of queer culture moving from more private spaces to more public ones.
This journey has been a long and complicated one, and it's still ongoing. It's important to recognize some of those early steps that began it. Let's hop into it.
To begin, let's talk about the history of pride flags. Pride flags serve as a documentation of the widespread symbols of the queer community developing in the public life. Gilbert Baker was the creator of the original pride flag.
He created it at the request of Harvey Milk, the first openly gay Californian elected official.
When it was first revealed at the 1978 San Francisco Gay Freedom Day Parade, the flag was an 8-striped, hand-sewn rainbow. Hot pink for sex, red for life, orange for healing, yellow for sunlight, green for nature, turquoise for art, indigo for harmony, and violet for spirit.
Baker was loosely inspired by Judy Garland's Over the Rainbow, as well as the use of rainbows to represent hope and peace.
Milk was unfortunately assassinated that same year. His death inspired the mass production of the flag, though without the hot pink stripe due to fabric shortages. It was later reduced further in 1979 to 6 stripes.
The combination of the turquoise and indigo stripes into one royal blue stripe created the most recognizable iteration today.
In 2017, Philadelphia introduced a new flag where black and brown stripes were added to recognize the unrepresented people of color within the queer community.
Daniel Cassar added a triangle to the left side of the flag in 2018, creating the Progress flag.
He added the trans colors and moved the black and brown stripes to within the arrow. Cassar also provided an additional meaning to the black stripe, using it to honor the lives lost to AIDS.
The arrow represents that though progress has been made, more is still needed.
Valentino Vichetti designed the most recent version in 2021. It included the intersex flag within the triangle.
Of the various flags created with more specific meanings within the queer community, these 5 most sufficiently document the pride flags that led the journey of queer symbols meant to be displayed to the public.
Marsha P. Johnson was one of the most instrumental figures in not only the gay rights movement in 1960s and 70s, but also the overall shift of queer topics into the public eye.
Many eyewitness accounts of the 1969 raid of Stonewall Inn credit her as the woman who threw the first brick and sparked the Stonewall riots that continued through the following 6 days.
As a transgender woman of color, Johnson faced extreme hardships throughout her life that ultimately led her to strive to help others experiencing similar things.
She contributed to the early stages of many gay rights groups, but became frustrated with the exclusion of transgender people and people of color within the community.
Unfortunately, this trend of exclusion within the queer community still persists today. Transgender women of color have been the most prominent figures in advocating for queer rights, and yet they are most often targets of discrimination both outside and inside the queer community.
One of the ways Johnson fought against this was in co-founding the Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries with Sylvia Rivera, another trans rights activist who she was close with.
They created STAR and STAR House as a way to focus on sheltering transgender youth and creating spaces they felt safe in.
Both Johnson and Rivera experienced homelessness in their youth, so it was important for them to include this in their personal campaigns for gay rights.
Throughout the 70s, Johnson experienced significant struggles with her mental health, even spending time in mental institutions, but still stayed strong in her activism.
She was found dead in the Hudson River on July 6, 1992, at the age of 46. This year would go on to be among the worst cases of violence against LGBTQ individuals. Without much investigation, it was dismissed as a suicide.
Backlash from the queer community eventually led the case to be reopened 20 years later in 2012, but it remains unsolved. Marsha P. Johnson maintained a strong presence in the fight for gay rights even past her death, and her persistence to be true to herself and help others is truly admirable.
Taboo topics have often been brought into the limelight through the use of film. This has greatly contributed to the growing presence of queerness in society in the past 100 years. So let's take a look at a few of those early queer films. In 1922, a kiss between two women in the film Manslaughter became the first explicitly romantic, on-screen same-sex kiss in an American feature film. Though it's in the background of a scene and the film itself isn't centered around queer themes, it is still a big moment for queer media.
A Florida Enchantment, 1914, depicts the story of a woman who takes a magical seed that turns her into a man. Her appearance does not change, but she begins to shift her behavior towards male standards, cutting her hair, wearing masculine clothes, and flirting with women. This behavior is met with positivity, yet her fiancé takes the seed and acts in reverse. It's instead met with hostility.
Alla Nazimova, a prominent queer actress and producer in the early 1900s, insisted on only including queer actors and crew in her silent film adaptation of Oscar Wilde's Salome. Nazimova wished to honor Wilde's own queerness with the film, and this casting decision was one of the many ways she did that. In the 1970 film Just the Two of Us depicted the story of two housewives falling in love while their husbands are away. This movie diverts both from the typical negative depictions of lesbian characters and a queer story that doesn't end in tragedy.
Hey, Mark,
Yeah?
how much do you love me?
Cut it out, huh? I'm not even sure I believe in love at all.
A Very Natural Thing, 1974, was one of the first gay feature films intended for mainstream distribution. The film centers the struggle with monogamy in the main couple's relationship that ultimately ends due to only one of them being interested in a romantic relationship. He's able to pursue the romantic relationship that he wants, and the film's happy ending remains an outlier in queer stories.
Life is shit.
All the stupid people are breeding like mad. It's no wonder the whole world's going down the toilet.
Totally Effed Up, 1993, follows the story of a group of gay teens as they struggle together to find themselves. It introduces queer characters to pre-existing tropes and providing a more intimate look into their lives.
We are black faggots with a political agenda.
We your worst nightmare. Who do you think you're talking?
Chocolate Babies, 1996, depicts a group of queer activists of color protesting against conservative politicians. The film's loudness is really what makes it unique in queer media. It highlights the harsh realities of what it meant to be queer in the 90s.
We hope you've enjoyed this experience and learned something new from it. We've discussed the steps taken in moving queer culture from hidden spaces to more public ones.
We've gone over the development of pride flags as a visual representation of queerness, Marsha P. Johnson's role in the fight for gay rights and early installation of queer representation in film to document this journey.
A lot has changed since the fight first started, but it isn't quite over yet. We still have long ways to go, and the community is working towards it step by step.